Yeah, so I've slid my hands up forward and I've got my thumb sticking out there until my thumbs are right over the bevel of the blade. If your hands are down here, you really don't have as much feel for where that bevel is. So you slide your hands forward and you're using those thumbs to give you a little bit of pressure down onto that bevel. And that's how you can feel if you're riding that bevel or not. If you want to make a steeper cut, you rotate the handles down more, but you want to do that in proportion to the wood you're taking off. So if you do that out here, where you have a whole bunch of wood still left to come off, you know, my carving has started to happen here, but I'm backing up a ways from that carving. Now I've got a lot of wood to take off, and what happens is it'll jump. And so you either need to lift your handles up in order to cut less wood off, or you need to put more pressure down on the bevel to keep it from jumping, or you need to start in a different place so that you're coming down, just biting a little bit of this sidewall off there. And so I've got a grain change here that I've created. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with how the tree grew anymore, but I've got an end grain wall here and an end grain wall here. And so I have to change which way I skew it. As I'm cutting this end grain wall, I'm going to keep my right hand in front. So I'm taking a curly Q chip down that wall. Of course, if I do it the other way, I'm going to tear really badly. So I'm skewing it down that hill that way, and then as I come across, I'm skewing it the opposite way over here.
And notice the way Ailey is taking advantage of the downhill that he's created. So he's not starting way up in a new area. He'll start down there in the bottom of the trough and work his way up. And he knows that he can get pretty good cuts like that.
Whoa, I just hit a big pitch pocket right there. Hopefully I'll carve that out, but if not, it could be something we see through the paint.
That's pine for you.
And so as I go deeper down into the bottom of the seat, I'm working my whole shape wider so that I don't have a really steep transition right in the bottom of that seat. If you're having a hard time cutting down here without tearing, then what you need to do is remove wood from up here and over here, widening that scoop out to where you have room to get the end shave in there.
And so Ailey is scooping out of the cut. So, you know, what you don't want is for that Scorp to be cutting and then stop. So you want to scoop out of all those cuts. And now when he's doing that cut right there that he just did up near that gutter, if you notice, he can nail that line when he gets there. And what he's going to do is lock in elbows and shoulders when he gets up there and use some power with his body. And that'll give him a lot more control. You know, right now he's got all elbows, all shoulders, and wrist moving, kind of for maximum cutting action. But as you start inching up towards that gutter and want more control, he'll lock some of those and pull with his body.
Yeah, that's a really important point, that every one of these cuts is coming from my feet initially. So I've got a wide stance down the floor. I'm not tipsy at all. And even though it looks like my arms are doing all the work, it's really coming from this wide stance on the floor where I'm just a tad bit rocking off of my feet there. And that gives you a lot more control than if you're standing with your feet side by side and you're kind of tipsy this way. Get a wide stance forward and back. And so here's a little bit tricky because I'm coming uphill, which really means I need to lift these handles up a good bit in order to come out of that cut. It's real easy to keep coming across and then leave a ridge there where I never came out of the cut. So you really want to lift your handles up as you go out of this cut. All that has to happen in proportion to the shape you're making. So it takes a lot of, sort of feeling that in shave and getting used to what it's trying to tell you.
So if you're using the in shave, and as you get deeper, you find that the handles might be hitting and making it hard to get in there on the cut. The issue's not really the Scorp, it's the way that you've sharpened the Scorp. You've rolled that bevel too far over. So the more that bevel gets rolled over, the more the handles have to be lowered for the blade to engage. And so you've probably, it means you probably put it too much on, too many times on the buffer, and that bevel needs to be flattened back out again.
Do you want me to take out my depth holes, Curtis, or?
Yeah, yep. Or you could leave just a hint of them and take it out when you carve front to back to clean it up.
And so I've got a nice sweep from this gutter, well, it's not a gutter, but where the gutter would be, this line, down to my depth holes. It's not a straight shot between there, but it's also not really curved. And so that will make it easier to get in there later, I think. Not that I've ever carved this seat before.
Yeah, but that back is exactly like any other seat. If it comes off too straight, then you end up with like a V down at the bottom where those holes are. And that means you've got to take out more, about halfway between the depth holes and the edge of the spindle deck or gutter.
Okay, so what should I start thinking about as I get towards the front here?
I take it all the way out, and you got to watch it out there because it can break out with you. So you got to figure out which way that's going to let you carve. It might let you carve skewing it back in towards the seat. It might want you to carve skewing it away from the seat. The wood's just going to have to tell you what that's going to be.
Yeah, as I get near that edge, if I tip this hand down at all, I will start taking drastically more wood off. So I really have to gradually roll that edge down into this cut. So see, I just chipped right there, and that's because I grabbed more wood than I meant to.
And you might be able to, sometimes what I'll do is I'll cut that front edge before I cut the area behind it. And I'll skew the Scorp towards the outside, creating a bevel, right like that, creating a downhill bevel. And then you can nail that line much easier and then take out the area that you left. Does that make sense to you, Alia?
That's much easier. You could even do that with a draw knife, and that'd be...
Yeah, you could do that with a draw knife too. You sure could. Never thought about that. Good idea.
Okay.
You could do that with. That's smart. I'll have to do that next time.